Space was quiet, dark, endless dot, but on one strange day, something entered Earth's orbit. It wasn't a satellite. It wasn't a meteor. It was something else. Big telescopes in different parts of the world caught it first. A large object. Metallic, silent, floating just above the Earth's surface. It didn't answer any radio signals. It didn't make contact. It just stayed still. Government started watching. Scientists started guessing. Military jets flew around it, but didn't get too close. Nobody knew what it was. Then, after 18 hours of silence, the object moved. Slowly, carefully. It entered the atmosphere and came down straight toward a desert in Nevada, USA. People living nearby said they saw a falling star land in the sand. But it didn't crash. It landed gently. The world went crazy. News channels covered it 24/7. Social media exploded. Conspiracy theories spread like fire. Was it an alien ship? A weapon? A message? Then came the moment everyone feared. Something came out of the ship. Tall figure walked into the open. It was not human. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with dark blue skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Its arms were long, its fingers thin like branches. Its eyes glowed like ice blue fire. People watching on cameras froze. It didn't speak. It didn't roar. It just looked at the sky, then at the humans hiding behind tanks and cameras. The creature raised one hand, not in anger, but as a signal. It was trying to say hello, but no one moved. The military set up a boundary. No one goes near the alien, they said. We don't know what it wants. We don't know if it's safe. Even the best scientists and leaders stayed back. Everyone was afraid. Everyone, except one man. His name was John Keller, a 35-year-old mechanic. He lived in a small town nearby and had worked at a space repair station once. John wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He had no medals or missions behind his name. But he had something no one else did that day. Courage. When John saw the alien standing alone in the desert, surrounded by fear, he felt something deep inside his heart. Something strange. Something familiar. This creature is not here to kill us, he whispered to himself. It's waiting, hoping. And so, before anyone could stop him, John walked past the fences, past the tanks, past the warnings. People shouted at him, "Hey, stop, you'll die." But he didn't stop. He kept walking. One slow step at a time. The alien saw him coming. Its eyes glowed brighter. Its body straightened. Soldiers raised their guns. "If it moves fast, shoot," their commander said. But the alien didn't move, and neither did John. When they were just 5 feet apart, John raised his hand slowly, like a peaceful sign. "I don't want to hurt you," he said calmly. "And I know you don't want to hurt us either." The alien tilted its head. Its skin shimmered like water. Then something amazing happened. A voice echoed inside John's mind, but the alien's mouth didn't move. "You are not like the others," the voice said. John's eyes widened. "You can speak in my head?" "Yes. Language learned. I came not to attack but to warn." Suddenly, the alien placed its hand on its chest. A soft blue light came out, forming strange symbols in the air, floating like smoke. Nobody could read them, except John. For some reason, the symbols made sense to him. They told him a message. Danger is coming from the stars. John stepped back, confused. What danger? But before he could ask more, the alien's body flickered. Its skin cracked for a second, revealing a metal surface beneath. It was not just an alien. It was a hybrid. Part machine, part living being. People watching from behind the walls gasped. One soldier shouted, "It's a weapon, shoot it." Someone else screamed, but before anyone could fire, the alien turned to John again and said, "You are Earth's only hope. You must choose to believe." Then everything went dark. A pulse of blue energy knocked out all cameras, radios, and lights. When systems came back 10 minutes later, the alien was gone. Only John stood there, confused, changed. Hands were glowing. John Keller didn't remember how he got back to the base. One moment, he was standing in front of the alien. The next, he was waking up inside a white tent, surrounded by scientists and military men staring at him like he had come back from the dead. "Where is it?" John asked, sitting up fast. "Where did it go?" Nobody answered. Instead, a soldier stepped forward. "You walked right up to it. You made contact. Then there was some kind of light. A blast of energy. Every camera went black. When we reached you, the creature had disappeared." John rubbed his hands. They weren't glowing anymore. But deep inside, something felt different. His skin tingled like it was charged. His thoughts were moving faster. Images were flashing in his head, symbols, stars, words he didn't understand, but somehow knew the meaning of. "I spoke to it," John said, his voice shaky. "Not with words. It spoke in my head." The scientists leaned in, curious and nervous. One of them, a short woman with glasses, asked him, "Telepathy?" John nodded. "Yes, it told me something is coming, a danger. From space." The room went silent. Even the soldiers, who didn't believe in much beyond bullets and orders, looked at each other with uneasy eyes. The next day, John was taken to an underground facility. Not a prison, but not a free place either. He was being observed. They said it was for his safety and theirs. John didn't argue. He knew they didn't trust him now. Not completely. He had seen something they hadn't. He had felt something they were too scared to understand. That night, while he lay in a room with no windows, the voice came again. Soft, calm, familiar. "You are not alone, John Keller." John sat up straight. "Tharek?" he whispered. The voice replied, "Yes, that is the name your mind gave me." John looked around the room. There was no one there. "Where are you?" "Nearby, hidden. I cannot show myself again. Not yet." John took a deep breath. "Why me? Why did you speak to me?" There was a pause. Then the voice answered, "Because your mind was open. You did not fear me, and I need someone who is not ruled by fear." John stood and walked toward the door. "You said danger is coming. What kind of danger?" "War," the voice said. "A species that spreads like fire. They do not ask. They do not talk. They take worlds, systems, life." John's throat went dry. "They're coming to Earth?" "Yes," Tharek said. "And they will not stop unless someone stops them first." John leaned against the wall. "Then why don't you warn the world yourself?" "I have many times. On many planets," the voice said, and John could hear pain hidden beneath the calm. "But they never listened. They feared me. They attacked. So I hide, and I wait. For someone like you." John's mind spun with questions. "Why can I hear you now? Are you in my head?" "No. I placed a link between us when we touched minds. You now carry part of my code." "Code?" John asked. Confused. "I am not fully organic," Tariq explained. "I was created to help others, to defend life. My creators are gone, but I continue their purpose." John was silent. He didn't know whether to be amazed or terrified. A machine. "With a soul. I need you to help me stop what is coming," Tariq continued. "But you must decide. I cannot force you." John stared at the ceiling, his heart heavy. He was a mechanic. A nobody. He fixed broken engines, not planets. "Why would they believe me?" he said bitterly. "I'm not a leader. I'm not even important." "Not all heroes lead armies," Tharek said. "Some light a small fire. That fire becomes a storm." Just then, the room lights flickered. A surge of energy buzzed through the air. John felt it in his bones. What was that? "A signal," Tharek said. They are coming sooner than I expected. You have little time. John's jaw tightened. How much time? One cycle of your moon. Perhaps less. Outside, thunder rolled in the sky. But there were no clouds. John knew this wasn't just a warning. It was the beginning. The next morning, the government called in top-level scientists, space experts, and defense leaders to question John. They locked the doors. Nobody was allowed to leave until the truth was known. John told them everything. Most didn't believe him. Some laughed, one old general, though didn't. He sat silently, watching John carefully. Then he said, "Son, if what you're saying is true, then we're already too late." John looked him in the eyes. "Not if we prepare, not if we trust the one being that's trying to help us." The general stood. "Then you better show me where to find this alien of yours." John shook his head slowly. "He'll find us ... when the time is right." As the meeting ended, a young technician ran into the room, pale and shaking. "There's something on the moon," he said. Everyone turned. "A ship, not ours, huge, it just appeared. And it's not alone." Far above Earth, shadows began to move. The moon had always been a quiet place, cold, silent, watching Earth from a distance. But now, it was no longer empty. Floating above its gray surface, covered in shadow and silence, was a massive ship unlike anything humans had ever seen. Didn't blink. It didn't move. It simply waited ... Like a beast holding its breath, John Keller stood behind the glass of the command center, staring at the live feed on the large monitor. His heart beat louder than the alarms echoing through the underground base. "They're here," he said quietly. General Wyatt didn't look away from the screen. "Is that ... them?" John nodded. "Yes, the ones Theric warned us about." The room was filled with top scientists, military officers, and tech analysts. Everyone watched the footage, too stunned to speak. The ship was almost the size of a city. Sharp edges, jagged sides. It didn't look like something made to travel. It looked like something made to destroy. Suddenly, the video feed glitched. The image disappeared. All screens went black. A voice came through the radio, cracked, broken, terrified. A scientist from the Moon Observatory was yelling, "It's moving! It's moving toward Earth! It just vanished from our scope. Repeat, it's no longer on the moon's surface." Then silence. The signal cut off. People in the control room panicked. Phones rang. Emergency teams were activated. Earth's defense systems went into full alert, but John didn't move. He closed his eyes, focusing. Somewhere deep in his mind, he tried to reach the only being who might have answers. "Theric." He whispered, "Where are you?" There was no reply. Not at first. Then, faintly, the voice returned. But it sounded weaker, almost ... tired. "I am here, John. I see them. They have arrived." John opened his eyes. "Why now? You said we had a month." "They accelerated," Theric said. "They detected my presence. They come not to speak ... but to erase." John looked at the general. "We need to move, now." General Wyatt turned to his team. "Launch the drones. Get eyes in the sky. Find that ship before it finds us." Meanwhile, in the darkness of space, thousands of tiny objects began detaching from the alien mothership. They looked like insects, small, black, and fast. But each one carried weapons powerful enough to flatten cities. The invasion had begun. Back at the base, the mood changed from panic to cold planning. Weapons were loaded, satellites activated. Space defense systems, long buried in dusty files, were reopened, but John knew none of it would matter. "We can't stop them with guns," he said. "They've done this before. To other planets. They're not coming to fight. They're coming to end." The general turned to him, frustrated. "Then what do we do? Surrender?" John shook his head. "We find Theric. We work with him. He's our only chance." One of the scientists, A young woman named Dr. Rhea stepped forward. "Even if we find him." "What then? What does he have that we don't?" John answered slowly. "He carries knowledge, technology, warnings from other worlds, and maybe a weapon." The room went silent again. Later that night, John was taken by helicopter to a remote desert back to where he first met THA:"REK." The sand was cold, the sky clear, no signs of life. He stood alone under the stars, waiting. And then, without sound or flash, Tharek appeared. Not walking. Floating. His body was wrapped in a soft blue light, his eyes glowing brighter than before. But he looked damaged. Parts of his arm were cracked. Sparks flickered from his side. "You're hurt," John said. "I was seen," Tharek replied. "They sent a warning drone. I destroyed it. But not fast enough." John stepped closer. "Can you still help us?" Tharek looked at him, the light flickering in his chest. "I must, or your world will burn." He opened his hand, and a small metal sphere floated out. It hovered between them, then slowly opened like a flower. Inside was a map, stars, systems, symbols. It moved and spun in the air. "This is not the first time," Tharek said. "They are called the Zarkari, a hive mind. They conquer planets, steal resources, then move on. They leave nothing behind but ash." John watched the map. Earth was marked ... and it was glowing red. "What's this?" he asked. "A countdown," Tharek answered. "You have 6 days before the first wave reaches your surface." John clenched his fists. "What can we do?" Tharek floated the sphere closer. "We must upgrade you," John blinked. "What?" "You are linked to me. That link can be enhanced. Your body, your mind ... can carry my tech. You will become more than human. You will become ... hope." John took a deep breath. The wind around them grew colder. He looked up at the stars, and he nodded. "Then let's begin." Above them, in the far sky, the Zarkari swarm moved quietly, preparing to descend. And Earth was running out of time. The transformation had begun. John Keller lay flat on a glowing stone surface, somewhere deep under the desert where no map could guide anyone. Around him, thin threads of blue energy crawled over his skin, pulsing like veins of light, sinking into his muscles, his nerves, his very bones. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just stared at the ceiling of the underground chamber covered in symbols, moving and shifting as if they were alive. Tharek stood beside him, calm and silent. His body still showed signs of damage from the earlier attack, but his voice inside John's mind remained steady. "You are changing, John. Your body resists, but your mind is accepting. That is rare, even for humans." John breathed heavily. "It hurts, yes," Tharek replied. "Evolution always does." Outside, the earth spun unaware. People went to work. Kids went to school. Lovers held hands, all believing they were safe. But above the sky, death waited. And below the earth, John Keller was becoming something new. After hours of transformation, John finally sat up. His vision was clearer, sharper. He could hear things miles away. He could feel the sand outside shift as a scorpion crawled across it. His muscles felt stronger, but it wasn't just strength, it was control. Precision. He looked at Tharek. "What am I now?" "You are still human," Tharek said. "But now, you carry the potential of 2 civilizations." John stood. Slowly. "Can I fight them?" "You can resist," Tharek answered. "And perhaps even inspire." John knew what that meant. He wouldn't win this war alone. He needed the world to listen, but would they? They didn't trust aliens. They didn't even trust each other. When John returned to the surface, the sky had changed. Faint trails of smoke painted curves across the clouds. Military drones, surveillance balloons. The world had seen something, and now it was watching. Back at the military command center, General Wyatt paced the floor with a grim expression. News of John's disappearance had spread. Officials whispered. Words like defector, abducted, even traitor. When John finally arrived at the gates, walking calmly with eyes that glowed faint blue, soldiers raised their weapons. "Don't come closer." One shouted. John raised his hands. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to help." General Wyatt appeared, stepping through the armed line. He studied John for a moment. "You've changed." John nodded. "Yes, I'm ready now." The general didn't smile. "That's what I'm afraid of." They brought John inside. Not to a meeting room, but to an interrogation cell. Bright lights. One metal chair, one table, one camera. John sat down. "This is how you treat the only person trying to save your planet." Wyatt stood across from him. "That alien has changed you. And now you want us to follow your orders?" "I want you to survive," John said. The general narrowed his eyes. "You disappeared. No signals, no tracking. You come back glowing like a weapon and expect me to trust you?" John leaned forward. "You don't have to trust me, but you need to trust the truth." He pressed a button on the table. From a hidden pocket, he pulled a small sphere given to him by Tharic. It floated above the table and projected a map of space. Red zones. Burnt planets, dead stars. This is what the Zarkari have done. These aren't stories, they're scars, and we're next. The general didn't blink. "How do I know this isn't a trick? A part of their plan to divide us?" John stood up, his voice calm but firm. "If Tharic wanted Earth dead, we'd already be ash. He's not our enemy. But if we keep doubting the only ally we have, we'll destroy ourselves before the war even begins." Just then, the door burst open. "Doctor." Rhea rushed in with a tablet in her hand. Her face was pale. "We picked up movement," she said breathlessly. "Thousands of objects entering Earth's upper orbit. They're not human." General Wyatt turned to her. "Live feed?" She nodded. "Already on screen. They all moved into the main command room." The massive wall display showed them what words could not explain. The sky was falling. From beyond the atmosphere, black shapes poured in like a storm of daggers. Sharp, spinning, alive. "They've begun their descent," Dr. Rhea whispered. Panic swept across cities. Sirens wailed. Emergency broadcasts warned people to stay indoors. But it was already too late. The first attack came without sound. A pulse of energy knocked out satellites across half the globe. Lights flickered. Communications failed. In many places there was only silence and fear. General Wyatt clenched his fists. "We don't have time." John looked at him. "Then make the right call." The general stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right. What do you need?" John turned toward the screen. "I need a team. Engineers, soldiers, scientists. Anyone brave enough to think beyond fear." "Why?" Wyatt asked. John answered without turning his eyes away. "Because we're not fighting with just weapons. We're fighting for the right to exist. And I have a plan." At that moment, deep in the desert, Tharic activated something ancient. A buried structure, hidden for centuries, began to rise from the earth, tall, circular, humming with energy. It was not a base. It was a forge. Earth was preparing for war. It would need something more than bullets. It would need belief. Asterisk. The wind over the desert had changed. It no longer felt like simple air. Now it hummed with energy. Unseen waves moved through the sand, and the earth itself seemed to breathe slower, deeper, heavier. Something ancient was waking up. Miles away from human eyes, beneath layers of dust and forgotten stone, a strange circular structure began to rise from the ground. It looked like a mix of steel, glass, and something unknown, something alive. It pulsed faint blue, and its rings spun slowly, like gears of a great machine stretching its limbs after a long sleep. John Keller stood at the center of it all. He was no longer just a man. His body still looked human, but he could feel everything. Pull of gravity, the whispers of electricity, the flow of air around each grain of sand. The connection between him and Thorek was now complete. He didn't just hear Thorek's voice in his mind. He felt it. "We are inside the forge now," Thorek said. "This place was built long before your planet had cities. My creators left it behind in case the Zarkari ever came here." John looked around. The walls of the structure moved slowly, adjusting themselves as if they recognized him. "Why?" "Earth?" he asked quietly. "Why did they choose this place?" "Because humans are different," Tariq answered. "You are violent, emotional, chaotic. But you are also free. That makes you dangerous to enemies who control through fear." John stepped toward the center of the forge. "Can we use it?" "Yes," Tariq said. "But it must be awakened completely. It responds to trust to unity. I cannot activate it alone. You need allies." That was the hard part. Back at the military base, trust was still fragile. General Wyatt had agreed to support John, but politicians were starting to interfere. Some believed John was being used by Thorek. Others thought he was a symbol of hope. The world was dividing again at the very edge of extinction. Still, John pushed forward. He gathered a team. Dr. Rhea, the scientist who first believed him, brought engineers and data analysts. A young pilot named Leo, who had lost his brother in the first Zarkari attack, joined without hesitation. Even a retired hacker from Russia, who once broke into government satellites, showed up after seeing the alien ships in orbit. They weren't soldiers, but they were believers. John met them in a hangar, his voice calm but clear. "I'm not here to command. I'm here to fight, with you. Beside you. We are not building an army, we're building a flame." He opened his hand, and a small device unfolded, an alien tool given by Tariq. It projected a hologram of the Zarkari fleet now forming in low orbit. "This is what we face," he said. "They don't sleep, they don't feel, they don't stop. But they've never faced anyone who could think like we do." The team nodded. They were ready. Construction inside the forge began. Under Tariq's guidance, the team started creating something Earth had never seen, a fusion of alien intelligence and human creativity. They called it Project Sentinel, part ship, part suit, part weapon. It wasn't designed to destroy, it was built to defend. Tariq helped them replicate energy cores that could shield cities. Rhea developed anti-gravity boots using recovered alien tech. Leo tested a flight module that could allow one person to outmaneuver a warship. The hacker, Dmitri, rewrote code in a language he didn't even understand, his fingers guided by instinct. Or something beyond it, the forge responded to their work. It spun faster, the air grew warmer. The walls shimmered with light as if it approved. But not everyone was happy. Elsewhere, in secret government rooms, powerful people watched John's growing influence with concern. "He's getting too close to that alien," one official said. "He's building a team outside our control," another added. "What if he turns on us?" And so, a plan began to take shape, quiet and dangerous. Someone would be sent to infiltrate the forge, to spy, to report, and if necessary, to stop John. Her name was Claire Renner, a military strategist with a calm voice and sharp mind. She was sent in as a communications officer. No one told John the truth about her role. She smiled. She listened. She watched. And she waited. Meanwhile, Tariq grew weaker. Each time he transferred knowledge into the forge, his body dimmed, his systems burned. But he never stopped. "Why are you pushing so hard?" John asked him one night. Tariq voice echoed faintly in his mind. "Because you are ready. And I am not forever." John's chest tightened. "You're dying." "I am completing my purpose," Tariq replied. If this world stands, I will rest. John didn't answer. He simply stood beside him in silence. Then, days later, a message arrived. The Zarkari fleet had sent their first full wave, 12 warships. Thousands of drones. They were heading toward Earth's biggest power stations. World was out of time. Back in the forge, Project Sentinel came alive. One suit, one weapon, one chance. John stepped into the armor. It adjusted to his thoughts, wrapped around his body like it had been waiting just for him. Claire Renner watched from the shadows, and quietly, she pressed a button on a hidden transmitter. Signal. Sent. They were coming for John. Not just from the sky, but from Earth itself. Asterisk. It began with silence. No sirens. No flashing red lights. Just an eerie stillness that fell over cities across the globe, as if the sky itself was holding its breath. Then came the tremble, small at first. The vibration of metal signs, the flicker of traffic lights. Dogs barked wildly, birds scattered. And then, all at once, the air cracked open. Above Earth, the Zarkari fleet broke through the cloud layer. 12 warships. Each one shaped like a blade. Sleek, silent, silver black. Moving not like machines but like predators. In New York, people looked up in confusion. In Tokyo, a school went quiet. In Cape Town, soldiers raised their weapons, but it felt like pointing a matchstick at a volcano. At the forge, deep in the Nevada desert, red lights came to life across the walls. They're here, John whispered. Tharik. Voice echoed faintly in his mind. The first wave is not to destroy. It is to test, to study how you react, how fast you fall. John stood in the heart of the forge, now fully active. His suit Sentinel-1 hugged his frame like a second. Skin, glowing with faint silver veins of energy. Its core pulsed with a light that matched Tharik's, human courage fused with alien brilliance. But he wasn't alone anymore. Beside him stood Leo, the young pilot, now geared with an anti-grav flight rig. Dr. Rhea, wearing an energy shield. Harness, held a portable command module. Dmitri, the hacker, sat by a holographic console, fingers dancing faster than sight. And standing quietly near the exit was Claire Renner, her mission still a secret to the team. Outside, Earth was under fire. The Zarkari didn't land troops. They sent cleaners, autonomous hunter drones that dropped from the sky like raindrops. Each one spun rapidly, scanning, adjusting, learning. They attacked power grids, communication towers, and anything electronic. Within 3 minutes, 5 major cities lost power. Within 7, air traffic collapsed. Within 10, global coordination was nearly impossible. John turned to his team. It's happening, and we're going out there. Where? Leo asked. Where they hit First Phoenix. The forge opened like a blooming flower. A launch pad lifted from the earth, covered in glowing runes and thrusters. The newly assembled Skycraft Valkyrie, a hybrid airship built in just 4 days using alien schematics and human guts weighted. Humming with power. John climbed aboard first. The others followed. Claire hesitated for half a second before stepping in. She touched the transmitter hidden under her collar and whispered, "Target has launched." Then she took her seat. As the Valkyrie tore through the sky, John's mind locked into Tharik's. "Are you still with me?" "Yes," came the weak but steady reply. "I will guide. I will protect, until I cannot." John didn't like how that sounded. Phoenix looked like a ghost city. The streets were empty. Smoke rose from power stations. The drones hovered like insects over steel, watching, waiting. Then they noticed the Valkyrie. Dozens of them broke formation and launched upward. "Brace!" Leo shouted, gripping the controls. The sky turned red with light trails. John stood at the drop gate. "Open the door," Rhea blinked. "Are you serious?" John nodded. "I need to hit them from outside." With a hiss, the rear gate of the Valkyrie opened mid-air. Wind screamed in, but John was already gone. He dove headfirst into the chaos. His suit adjusted instantly. Wings of light spread from his back. He twisted mid-air, dodging beams, returning blasts. His arm morphed into a pulse cannon that fired. Pure energy ripping through 2 drones in one hit. From above, Leo shouted, "Is he flying or dancing?" Claire watched silently. Her eyes followed John's movements, but her mind whispered questions. Why wasn't she stopping him? Why did she hesitate every time she touched the button that could call in a strike team to take him down? Below, John landed hard on a rooftop, crushing a drone beneath his boots. He looked out at the horizon, 3 more ships moving in. He spoke to the forge. "I need more." Tharek replied, "You are not ready." "I don't care." "You will break. I will fight." The sentinel suit pulsed brighter. Pain surged through John's spine, but he stayed upright. He raised his arm, and the rooftop around him reformed, panels opening to reveal mounted weapons, automated turrets. Rising from below, the forge was extending its reach. From Earth's bones, the planet began to push back. The battle turned chaotic. Leo flew low, dropping EMP nets. Dmitri remotely hijacked 3 drones, making them crash into their own fleet. Rhea activated a ground shield that protected a hospital, still filled with people, and Claire watched. Every time she looked at John, something twisted inside her. He wasn't leading for glory. He wasn't barking orders. He was saving people person by person, street by street, and that made him dangerous. Because people would follow him. When her private channel buzzed with a voice from her superiors, "Take the shot. Now." She stood up. She aimed her small rail pistol at John, who was crouched on a rooftop, shielding a child behind his armored frame, but she didn't fire. Instead, she crushed the transmitter in her hand. And that's when the main Zarkari ship above Phoenix opened. A beam of black light shot down from the sky, disintegrating everything in its path. John turned just in time to see it crash into the edge of the city. Buildings vanished. Dust spread. Claire ran forward. "We need to get out now." John shook his head. "No, we need to go in." "In where?" Rhea asked, terrified. John pointed to the crater. "That wasn't an attack. That was a landing zone." He turned toward the team, eyes glowing brighter than ever. "They're not here to win. They're here to settle. And we're the only ones in their way." The ground shook again. Something huge was rising from the crater. The real war had just begun. Asterisk. The sky had changed color. It was no longer blue. No longer gray. Now it was a sick shade of burning orange, as if the planet itself was bleeding through. The clouds from the center of the Phoenix crater. The Zarkari main war core had emerged. It wasn't just a ship, it was alive. A towering structure of dark metal and pulsing red light, with long moving limbs that twisted into the ground like roots. It stood hundreds of meters tall, breathing smoke and humming with deep vibrations. That shook buildings miles away. From it, thousands of drones poured out. They flew in perfect lines, no emotion, no chaos, no soul. They came to conquer, but this time, humanity was waiting. On the edge of the crater, John Keller stood in his full sentinel armor, his suit scarred and sparking, his face dirty and tired, but his eyes still glowing with defiance. Behind him stood Leo, bloodied but alive. Rhea, her portable shield cracked but still working. Dmitri, laughing madly as he jammed Zarkari frequencies with nothing but a stolen signal box and an old pair of headphones. And Claire, the spy who didn't pull the trigger. Now she was part of the resistance. None of them were soldiers in the traditional sense, but they were human. And that made all the difference. "Status?" John asked, looking over the battlefield. Leo wiped blood from his brow. "Outnumbered, outgunned, no air support." "Perfect," John said. "Let's ruin their day." A pulse of laughter echoed in his head. Weak familiar, Tharik. Always admired your recklessness, the alien said. John's lips tightened into a small smile. Still with me? Barely, Tharik replied. My energy is low. My body failing, but I will remain until the end. John clenched his fists. That's all I need. From the forge, reinforcements finally arrived. A wave of ground. Shields rose from beneath the earth, forming glowing barriers that blocked enemy fire. The forge, now half awake, activated its final function, beacon mode, a signal to unite remaining human bases across the globe. Suddenly, hundreds of hidden resistance groups received coordinates, from South America to Siberia, from the slums of India to the ruins of Europe. People who had been afraid now saw the same message broadcast. Stand, fight, we are not alone. And humanity rose. Fighter jets powered by stolen alien energy launched from secret runways. Civilians picked up weapons built in underground labs. In Africa, a group of teenagers used hacked farming drones to shoot down Zarqari scouts. In Italy, monks turned ancient cathedrals into command centers. Everyone fought, not because they were ready, but because they were human. On the front lines, John looked up at the war core. Its limbs were beginning to drill deeper into Earth's crust. They're seeding, Tharik warned. They want to turn your planet into one of their hive worlds, John turned to Claire. Can you get me inside that thing? She nodded. There's a tunnel under the crater. Dmitri found it, but you won't make it far alone. I'm not alone, John said. The team moved fast, cutting through drone lines, diving into smoke, explosions, and falling debris. They reached the tunnel just as it began to collapse behind them. Inside, it was darker than night, wet. Breathing dot, yes dash, breathing dot. The war core pulsed like a giant heart. The walls throbbed. Red light flickered through black veins. It was like walking inside the belly of a machine god. Dot. As they moved deeper, the voice came again, but it wasn't Tharik. You are not welcome. The Zarqari voice was cold, metallic, empty. John paused. Then you shouldn't have come to our planet. We bring order, you bring noise. We bring something you'll never understand, John whispered. We bring choice. Suddenly, spikes shot from the walls. Leo leapt forward, taking the hit meant for John. He screamed, falling hard. John caught him. Blood soaked his gloves. Keep going, Leo groaned. You're the only one who can end this. Claire grabbed Leo and pulled him to safety. Ria and Dmitri covered the rear. John ran, faster than he ever had. His armor cracked. His body screamed, but his mind was on fire. Tharik's voice came again, faint now. I can guide you one last time. Then do it. They reached the core chamber. A massive brain-like structure hung from the ceiling, pulsing dark red. Below it, a power node hummed. That was the target. Hit it hard, John said. But before he could act, the Zarqari Prime descended. It wasn't a creature. It was a mind downloaded into armor, towering, multi-limbed, eyes glowing like twin black stars. You cannot win. I'm not here to win, John said, stepping forward. I'm here to end you. The fight was brutal. John dodged, struck, blocked, rolled. His suit adjusted, but it wasn't enough. The Prime strikes broke bone, crushed steel. Then, as John was pinned, Tharik acted. Now, John, take the core, use me. No, you'll die. That is life, I choose this. Just like you did. John slammed his fist into the power node. Tharik's energy flowed from the suit into the core. There was a flash, a silence. Then dash light. Blinding, beautiful, unstoppable light. The war core trembled. Cracked. Exploded. A wave of pure energy shot through the Zarqari hive structure. Every drone in the sky shut down. Every warship fell like stones. Across Earth, people looked up to see the invincible enemy. Dropped from the sky like broken toys. Humanity didn't just survive, it refused. To kneel. John collapsed inside the wreckage. His body was broken, but his heart beat strong. Claire and the team found him minutes later. You did it, she whispered. No, John said weakly, staring at the sky. We did. 1 week later across Earth, celebrations erupted. People danced. In the streets, governments signed peace agreements. Borders softened. But a small memorial stood in the desert where the forge had once glowed. A statue of John stood tall. Not in glory. But in defiance. At the base, a single quote was carved. They came with power. We answered with heart.